Hello, welcome to is this the first Debian Hams BoF? It's definitely the first that I've been involved in, at least the BoF at DebConf 21. If you haven't come across the Debian Hams group before, we primarily focus on packaging software for amateur radio, the hobby of people playing with RF in various formats, from traditional radios all the way through to SDRs and modern technology. The group itself contains quite a wide range of people, and we've got a small subset here just to talk a little bit more about what we're doing, what we've done over the last year, and what we plan to do in the incoming year. So I think we'll start off with introductions. I'm Hibby, Dave Hibberd, call sign MM0RFN. I live in the north of Scotland. I've been a radio amateur for about 10 years now, and I've been contributing to Debian in various forms for the last 5 or 6 years, I think. I'll pass it to whoever wants to introduce themselves next.
All right. Hi, I'm Tawa. I'm VA2XOR. I'm licensed here in Canada. I've been a ham since 2016. I've been involved in Debian since around 2017, a DD since 2019.
You're muted. Christoph, you're muted. Christoph, the muting symbol is still on. We can't hear you.
Who have we get? There we go. While we work out Christoph, do you want to introduce yourself, Feed?
Well, I can use the time to introduce myself.
Yeah.
Apart from doing director here on this stream. I'm Andreas Bombe, Delta Data 8 Alpha Bravo. I should get a Swiss call sign, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. I'm packaging a bunch of mostly SOAP SDR related things in Debian Hams. Been active in Debian for quite a while longer. Must be going on 20 years. So not very active actually in Ham at the time, but still handling the software.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of uploads from you in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, it's the SOAP SDR ABI transition again, the usual, which the upstream does on every major release. So the library and all the modules are interconnected. So that's always a lot of uploads. Still more to come.
Everything needs touched. Yeah.
Mic test again. Can you hear me this
Yep.
time? Feather here.
Yeah. Can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate the patience. Yep, my name is Feather Grau. I'm Kilo Charlie 3, Mike Whiskey Delta. Was a ham, licensed as a ham many years back in the 80s and let that cycle out. Never got beyond my novice, got licensed again around 2019 and have been enjoying that since. I've been a Debian user since Potato, probably sometime around 2000.
We've spoken quite a bit, but it's nice to finally hear your voice.
Yeah. Oh, we've lost him again, but I'm sure he'll return.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hello. There we go.
Okay, so I'm Christoph, Delta Foxtrot 7, Charlie Bravo. Yeah, licensed since the late 90s, but haven't been doing much radio stuff until 3 years ago, when I finally also found the time to look at the Debian side of ham radio and have been working on several packages since then. WSTX, libhamlib, and some of the SDR things, some stuff here and there. Okay, and IRL was the first one to join, I think.
You snuck in, yep.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Okay. Some of you may know me. I'm IRL, retired Debian developer. I used to maintain the APRS packages and AX25 packages in Debian, but I believe someone else has picked those up now. Has been carrying those on. What else to say? I guess I've been licensed for quite a few years now. I'm a club official for the Scottish Consulate Official Amateur Radio Club. The Scottish Consulate isn't a real consulate, it's made up. But the club is real. I guess that's it.
And then Erwin joined.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Erwin. My call sign is HA2OS. I'm a Debian maintainer since I guess 4 years ago. So I'm a member of the Debian Hams, and I saw on the mailing list that this meeting is coming, and I thought of joining to you. To meet to each other. That's it. That's a short introduction for me. Sorry.
It's all good. I think that's the bulk of us arrived. Shall we look down the agenda and see what we came up with as things to talk about? Software updates in the last year. Oh, what have we gone through in the last year? I think the biggest that I'm aware of is Christoph doing hamlib 4. That was quite a big transition for everything.
And the next one is already in the pipeline, which I didn't want to push for. Point 2.
Okay.
So point 1 is an experimental, and point
Yeah.
2 has been released upstream.
There's been nothing huge in terms of updates in the last year in AX25 land that I'm aware of. It's kind of slow and steady, although in the last 2 or 3 months there's been a lot of chat on the kernel mailing list about a few bugs, long-standing bugs that have been fixed or otherwise. So there's work beginning to happen again, and hopefully it'll become more usable with the new update at kernel end, as well as tools to follow. So I'm kind of tracking that interestingly. But over the past year, there's not been a lot, and I've only really come back into packaging actively since the start of this year. So I've done a lot of tidying on my own packages and bringing them up to current standards and specs. But that's been the bulk of it for me.
Yeah, perhaps one in quotes major thing I was introducing is this ham radio files package, which
Yeah.
is meant to be used by all the other packages, including which need this city.csv or bigcity.dat or whatever variant of that country database there is. I think I integrated in about 3 or 4 packages. There's probably some more that could be adapted. I think I adapted all those I found, but some packages might be using it under a different file name, which I didn't find.
Yeah.
I also included some other bits in there. This super check database for contesting, but I think that one is only used by TLF anyway. But it's nice to have that updated and not tied to the upstream log program release cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep uploading that. I even got a few updates into Bullseye before it was released, but I don't really have any plans to keep that updated for Bullseye. It will be kept updated in Unstable. If someone thinks we should be backporting it, we could do that. Or maybe everyone doing hobby radio stuff is using Unstable or testing anyway. I don't know.
I think the bulk of us are or at least who are actively working on the team are probably running testing. We'll get a comment in the Etherpad saying that Mate has moved a few packages into the Debian Ham radio team, which I think I saw when I was looking at all of the packages we've got responsibility for earlier on in the day. I think as it stands, we're managing about 130 packages.
DDPO says 110.
Yeah, and then there's a couple. There's other. Yeah, in Maine there's 110. That's right.
Yeah, there's a few with
There's a few
other
others,
maintainers on them.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been talking a bit about what I've done already, but it's release has been done. So I started with getting the new version of SOAPy SDR into Debian, and that's always quite a big process because it has a new library API change, so that's a transition. And I've made all the modules that are pulled in by the library also dependent on the API. otherwise it would be possible to install the libraries, the SOPI-SDR library in parallel with an older or newer version, but then you wouldn't have any modules though, so the library would be unusable. That's why all the modules are also versioned with the same API as the SOPI-SDR library, and I have to upload the whole thing together, so that's what I've been doing in the past few days, getting everything into experimental so I can do the transition as a whole. There still a few packages left. I guess it might clash with the UHD transition, library transition that Mate is doing, but nothing has happened there for quite a long time. So I guess I'll be through with that first. And then I guess everything should settle down after that, once the new version is in. Hopefully no new version comes out this year.
One major transition a year and nothing more, please.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's I think the transitions we are doing are all very self-contained within the team, so there's not that much we need to coordinate anyway.
Yeah, at least not for the SOPI-SDR, which is basically ham radio, of interest for ham radio. I think it gets comes out to Osmo something, and that's with new radio, which is maybe used for some other stuff outside, but yeah, for me it's all very contained inside the ham group.
But the Hamlib stuff was a bit involved because they keep shuffling internal symbols around, and notably WSTX keeps using more internals than the others. So that was one reason I did not jump for newer versions, because it was already broken somehow, and that the state we got in is one that works.
Yeah, WSJTX is a bit of a difficult program as well, because it's so high profile and the pace of development is so quick at the moment.
Right. I've been slacking with the last few beta versions anyway. If someone else wants to jump in, that's of course fine. I don't have to do that, but
my name's in the uploaders list at the very least, so I should probably look at it. Because we're now almost two minor versions behind, aren't we? They're up to 2.5 release candidates.
Was there a new mode?
Oh, probably.
Yeah. There was actually. Is it with this Q65 something mode? I lost track in which version they introduced which one. Right, that is missing in Bullseye at the moment. I think it's part of the 2.4 version in experimental, but we are already at 2.5 RC5, and someone needs to have a look at that.
Yeah,
I will eventually, but if someone wants to beat me for it, that's okay.
I think probably that one is worth a backport as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if we don't backport it, we'll start getting requests in the mailing list at some point.
Because Raspberry Pi users are going to be stable.
Yeah. Right. I think the other thing in the pipeline is this pet WinLink thing.
Yeah.
Tawa has been working on with Fede, who dropped out again,
He
unfortunately.
was here but dropped out, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything to mention. I think it's still waiting in you, if I recall.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I wasn't the one who uploaded it in the end.
Yeah, right. It's actually still waiting.
Yeah.
Now,
But I'm hopeful for it to leave new. Let's see. I'm not sure I have anything else to add, personally.
yeah.
So,
To be
so
honest-
is this a full WinLink client, or what is this?
Yes, effectively, it's
Yeah.
a full WinLink client.
Oh, cool.
Written in Go.
Yeah.
It required some new things added, and because of the release, it was held up. But yeah, it's quite nice. I've built and run it on a local machine somewhere around the house, and it's all fairly modern looking and doesn't feel like software from 30 years ago, which is always a nice surprise.
Yeah, I find it a lot easier to use than some of the other WinLink clients that I've run into.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have the big problem in the UK that WinLink is a big legal question mark.
Prime.
We don't. Yeah, we don't have any approved gateways, as Ofcom will not allow WinLink as a service to have any gateways due to the possibility that it may pass third-party messages, emails from non-amateurs. So.
Yeah, I can see how there could be implications there.
Yeah, things like SMS over APRS flies under the radar, but WinLink as a gateway at least is frowned upon. But we can probably get away with running a client and connecting to gateways outside the country.
I think the only thing that I could add is that there's one package that I still haven't uploaded that we just patched out, but it's a it's been such a long time I can't even remember what it does. It talks to a particular Pactor modem, I think. Yeah, PTC Go. Yes, it talks to SCS Pactor modems, which for now I've commented out because there were licensing issues at the time, but I think they're now fixed. Yeah, they've been fixed for a little while now, so I should make a note to myself to get on that.
One thing I will say on specific hardware support is check that that's actually something that people use, because there were some packet modems from the 80s that I couldn't even get hold of. I looked on eBay to try and get hold of one, and I just couldn't. So make sure they're currently in use before you commit to supporting them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. They're still being sold as far as I can tell, and my logic at the time was that PAT is a fairly modern client that was written pretty recently, and if support for those modems was included in it, I figure there are probably people who use them.
Do you have one available for testing?
Unfortunately not. I had reached out to some local hams to see if I could get my hands on one for a little bit, and I haven't gotten a response yet, but
I do remember the DPL complaining that Debian had too much money at one point. So if it is something that is very popular, it might be worth asking the DPL to authorize you buying one.
that's not a terrible idea.
It might take some to explain what this thing actually is you want to buy. but
I'm sure if we had support from the technical committee, it would be dead easy.
yes. I can try to arrange something.
Sure, I'll keep that in mind I'll keep that in mind.
Right. The one thing I have in the pipeline that I was working on, some time ago is SDR Angel, which is a successor to this Strange Love
Okay.
program, which has the cooler name, but the newer one has the shorter one. So the all the dependencies have been uploaded since quite a while actually, and the packaging is basically finished, but it does include a load of JavaScript API documentation generating something, and I haven't had the energy yet to spend some hours on digging through that for licensing, copyright, something issues. I believe there are no issues, but I would rather want to upload it completely and not have to strip out the API document. It does have a web service which is self-documenting using that interface, and if that wasn't working, it's the whole program is probably not that useful. It does have a nice GUI, but the web or HTTP part is actually quite nice to have. So and the other problem is that they keep releasing faster than you can look there. They're absolutely amazing. They keep releasing new features, new modes every 2 weeks or so. And in theory, you would have to do a license check of everything again. But it's all proper free software, and I think that, I should probably take a deep breath and just do it at some point. Yeah, everything is already on Salsa. You can just build it. I'm running it at home. It just hasn't the upload just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I know that feeling. And there's a couple more packages mentioned in the Etherpad. One's Q Radio Link, which is a multi-mode SDR transceiver application built on top of GNU Radio, and the other one is Analog Devices IIO oscilloscope. And I assume that that'll be Mate who is suggesting they're going to be packaged. Yes, that's who's left the comments.
I actually had a look at Q Radio Link, I think 2 years ago, at which point it was very much tied to building on Ubuntu Bionic something, and it was hard to get it running elsewhere, and then I got distracted and wandered away. But that, I would also be interested into at least trying that.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a radio type program, while SDR Angel is very different from turning a VFO knob on a real radio.
Yeah. I don't think I've got any major targets of things to package over the next year, but I have no doubt that something will come my way, or I'll end up adopting more things. That seems to be happening at the moment.
Yeah.
The TLF will get a new release soon, as I know. and there will be a new feature. Maybe Christoph follow this, or other Ham members. So there is a developer, HA5CQZ, Zoli. He's my friend, and he started to implement a new feature. So TLF configuration is very hard. I don't know who knows the TLF. Some of you using it. So Zoli started to implement this feature that you can make a configuration for every contest in Python. So the Python is the configuration language, and you can set the correct score and the correct multiply counting, but it needs the Python binding. That's it. I try to help Zoli, and if he will finish that, and we will make the next release, I will make the package. That's it.
Nice. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not using that part of TLF. I just keep logging and don't care about the score. I'm happy if the multiplier recognizes if it recognizes the correct multipliers, but that's the most difficult thing I'm using there. I'm also always editing the config file before the contest is running, so I'm not even switching contests.
So if you don't want to win the CQ worldwide, it's enough. But sometimes the operator needs that the log software knows the rules exactly. For example, if you want to see the which is the new multipliers or any other issues. So that's why we started to implement this. And what about the G-rig? Do you know about them? Any kind of information?
I didn't get the what were you asking about?
The G-rig, G-rig, the GNO rig.
Right. Yeah, G-rig.
Yeah.
G-rig.
G-ring, yeah. That's a GUI. That's
like cat control GUI.
Cat control.
That's this
front
very
end.
old thing.
Yeah,
right.
that's a very big problem because I think there is no other front end. As I know, there is a front end from W1HAJK, the FR rig, maybe.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I don't like that software. The G-rig is IMHO, that's better, but just my opinion. What do you think about it?
It's that upstream, so I actually thought we had removed it, but it's still there. I think you were complaining it's that I was saying that it's outdated.
Because there is no not maintained, as I know. Maybe the G-rig. The last stable release is 4 years old or so.
It has to be older. It's the same version, even in stretch.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be problematic with the HamLib 4 transition, I guess. Then, or has it been okay?
It's already running. It's already running with HamLib 4.
Are you sure? I tried the G-rig in this year, but as I remember, I couldn't start it. I don't know why. I don't remember, but maybe I have to see again. So what can we do now? Somebody needs to continue the developing it.
Do you want to be the new upstream?
Yeah, I don't know. My problem is I don't have too much time in the last months and in the last year. That's my big problem. And there are many other packages in Debian what I try to upload and try to keep to update. For example, the mod security and the core rule set. But my problem is I don't have too much free time, and I can't work on this project. That's my. I'm really sorry for this, but that's it.
Yeah.
So it's too many things what I'm interesting about. Sorry.
This has been a common problem with ham radio software, that there really was a boom of ham radio software development in the 90s. And I know I removed quite a lot of packages and upset quite a few people in the process, where the upstreams were just gone. And I do wonder if the same way that we have these requests for package bugs, maybe we need requests for new upstream bugs, where we can say there's this need for someone to produce software like this because we don't have an alternative in Debian. The upstream is gone, so we lose this functionality in a sense. I've actually had to install Windows for the first time in 10 years so that I can run the remote operation software for my ICOM radio, the 9700, because the protocol is a proprietary protocol that only the ICOM software speaks. So I could see that class of it's doing what grig and flrig are doing. That class of software could probably do with some work.
So for ICOM specifically, there is WFView, which I discovered some days ago. I tried it on an IC 73000, but I couldn't get it to run. But it's supposed to be a transceiver front end, including showing the waterfall and so on. That would be interesting to have, but first it needs to run. But of course, that's specific to ICOM, to the newer ICOMs with waterfall stuff. So I don't know if that's a good answer to the grig question. So yeah, I've been trying to remove some software as well. I think that's when Erwin and I were talking about grig at the beginning of the year. Yeah, there's still a few packages left, of which I have absolutely no idea what they are doing and which haven't been touched for years. So as long as they are not causing any busy work by bumping autoconf versions or something else, that's okay. But we should definitely continue to remove things that are just outdated.
But is there any other front-end software like the grig?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe asking, I don't know where to ask. Starting here is probably a good idea. We want something in that area, so could someone please either pick up grig and modernize it or write something new? That would be nice. Yeah.
Maybe a blog post on Debian Planet.
Yeah.
That could reach an audience.
Yeah. I can try asking on Twitter.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Twitter has any opinions on this.
Yeah, my ham radio bubble probably has some few people in there.
No, I just asking this because I don't know. What do you know about the remote stations? So as I see in the world, it's even more popular than remote stations. I know there are many SDR radios, and then it doesn't need to any front end because the manufacturer gives you the front end, then the software, so you don't need any kind of special software. But what about if you want to use a basic regular radio, and that radio has Hamlip support, and if it has the Hamlip support, you can work with remote with help of any kind of front end software. That's why I ask you. Maybe it would be important.
It would certainly be nice to have that, but I don't think it exists as open software.
The other is the FR rig.
Yeah, right, but that's also tied to this FL rig.
FL to G.
Yeah, this control demon thing, which isn't Hamlip and is not that wide.
Yeah,
I think it has less support for rigs, and of course it's the it's the FL something word. Yeah, that exists, but I don't like it very much either. But then I don't have that much of a use case for the software part there.
Can I just interject? We have about 3 minutes left on this BoF.
No problems. All right, is there anything else we want to talk about?
Someone put our web pages on the agenda?
Yeah, so I added metapackages and website just at the end in case we were running short on things to talk about. We still have the 8.5 ISO and download link on the website, so we should probably get rid of that at some point soon, because we have a Teams website as part of the Pure Blends project. I don't think anyone was particularly willing to put in the work to produce and test a running stable ISO for folk to download and install.
So I used to do the website. I'm gone. So if anyone wants to do anything at all with the website, they should just do it.
Yeah, I put together a patch set a few months ago, but we didn't do anything with it. I think just in the run up to release. So now we'll get a bit more space and time. It's something we can look at again.
Yeah, I remember having seen that patch. Maybe if you poke me about it in a few days, I can probably just commit it to the web Git.
No worries. I think that's the bulk of it, though. Should we meet up at some point in the future and talk again? It's been quite good to put names to faces and have a quick chat about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be open to that.
Excellent. I think Debian Social has a Jitsi, so we've at least got infrastructure to do that with.
All right, I suppose that can be coordinated on the mailing list, or
Yeah, either the mailing list or
IRC.
IRC. We're in a hash Debian Hams, Debian-Hams in OFTC. Perfect. Well, thanks all for coming. It's been really good to speak to you guys and catch up. And hopefully we'll just keep chugging on with no more major transitions this year. That would be nice.
Yeah. Thanks for organizing.
Yeah.
That wasn't a lot of work, just a quick mailing list post.
Thanks. That's the end of the BoF. I'll end
Thank
the
you,
stream
guys.
here.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
Thank
Perfect,
you very
cheers.
much. 73.
Bye.
73
Cheers.
is by all.
Bye.